I ended up giving away 2.3 million physical copies, which cost me about 3 million US dollars. So I gave away $3 million for a gift, and look what happened 20 years. I sold almost 9 million copies. That translates into roughly about 13 million US dollar.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who turn their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here with my, what I can call friend, Ken Honda. And we met, it'll be about 8 months ago. And just a bit about him is that he is a money and happiness expert. He's a best-selling self-development author in Japan with book sales surpassing 8 million copies since 2001. His latest book is called Happy Money, the Japanese art of making peace with your money. And Ken studied law at Waseda University in Tokyo and entered the Japanese workforce as a business consultant and investor. Ken's financial expertise comes from owning and managing several businesses, including an accounting company, a management consulting firm, and a venture capital corporation. His writings bridge the topics of finance and self help, focusing on creating and generating personal wealth and happiness through deeper self honesty. Ken provides ongoing support through mentoring programs, business seminars, therapeutic workshops, and correspondence courses. Welcome, Ken.
Hello, Debbie. How are you? How are everyone?
Welcome. Yeah. So you in your bio, it talks about this book, which I love. I've been through once and I started to go through it again. I was just away on vacation. I just love it. So I recommend it all the time.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I love that I got a signed copy from you, which was such a treat.
Yes, it was fun meeting you. Is that in Nashville, right?
It was, yeah.
Yes, and it's interesting. Now we are on the other side of the planet, and then we can communicate this way.
It's amazing. It is truly amazing. So I was so excited with anticipation for this interview. And so I have some questions for you. In your
Yes,
book,
please.
Happy Money, you speak about your mentor, and I want to say his name properly, Wahid Takeda. Yes.
Yes.
And he says there is no end in the money game. So I'm curious, how did he influence your life, and where and when did you meet together?
So it's definitely something 14, 15 years ago. He passed away 6.5 years ago. So, but the time we spent together was very intense. I try to be close to him as much as possible. So sometimes we met a few times a week, sometimes once a month, but I try to spend as much time with him because he's a Zen teacher. So he just talks about money in a very casual way. And it's a, even it's a 3 minutes, it's full of gems. So I really took advantage of our time together.
Yes, it sounds like you may emulate him in the way that you are, because I would describe you in a very similar way. Would you say that he was a big influence on you and your work?
Yes, and after learning from him, money was much, much easier for me. It wasn't so bad at the time, but money became air for me. He said, For a lot of people who live in a world, people tend to have money in the freezer. So when you take it out, you have a frozen bite. So when you live in a warmer environment, money becomes water, but still you need management. If it becomes too much, it becomes flood. If it's too little, it becomes drought. Either way, it's not fun. So ideal situation is that money becomes air. That means that you can breathe in as much as you want. You can breathe out as much as you want without even thinking about it. How many times do you think of air? Do you feel like at the end of every month, do you think I have enough air in the house? Probably not.
So wise. Oh, I love that. And that really is a unique example around this infinite supply, infinite supply of air. At least most of us have clean air to be able to breathe in. And as you said, we don't give it a second thought. Love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, in your book, you share it doesn't matter how much you have or make, it is your feelings about money that determine your wealth. That really resonated with me, especially with what I do with vision boards. So I'm curious, how did you refine your feelings around money and how long did that take?
So I did a lot of healing work, not only money, but my childhood. It took me a few years to really concentrate on healing in the past. So a lot of negative beliefs about money from my parents, even though my parents taught me well about money, but still, like anybody else, I had lots of negative beliefs. And then I need to heal my childhood pain that I didn't get certain things from my parents. And uh, I was hurt so many times over money. So I needed to heal that. And after a little healing, I feel neutral about money. It doesn't bring so much positive, so much negative energy. After cleaning out the positive and the negative, I'm more neutral. People tend to want only positive energy, but it doesn't work that way. We have yin and yang and positive and negative. So you need to clean out the both energy. If you have too much joy, you're off balance.
Really? I've never
That's
heard of that.
that's what Zen philosophy just thinks.
Huh. Too much joy makes you off balance. Interesting. And isn't it that the pursuit for many people is to just simply have happiness and joy?
Yes, but that joy has to come from inside. It's more quiet one. Uh, the one, the happiness and joy that people seek is more exciting one. I feel so happy. That doesn't work. Happiness is something when you ask, when somebody asks you, like, Debbie, you seem very happy. Like, oh, I think I am. I never thought about it. Because happiness is something that you don't think about it every day, like air, like money. When people ask you, are you happy? I think so. You know, Because if you think about happiness all the time, that means you're not happy. It's like health. If you're healthy, you don't think about health at all. When you get sick, suddenly you think of health.
Hmm. You're really making me think, and especially about the idea that Bob Proctor talks about with paradigms. And we tend to think about paradigms only in, that they need to be revisited and have to be changed. But it sounds like if your paradigm is happiness, then it becomes your norm.
Right. So, uh, Wahe asked me questions. That's the way he taught me. So I took that style. So a lot of my students say, "Ken, I had three questions when I came to your seminar, but when it's done, I feel like I've learned so much, but I have 10 questions."
That's a sign of a great teacher. When you leave with more questions than answers,
It's good because you find it when you have more questions.
right? Right. Oh, I love that. So I'm curious, do you have a vision board?
Yes, I was thinking of showing to you, but I feel a little too shy.
You do?
Wow. One of my friends is written so many books on the vision board. He called it treasure map.
Mm,
I thought one day, I wanted to introduce my friend to you
I would love that.
because he sold millions of copies on how to create vision board in Japanese way. Yeah, you'll really enjoy his teachings because you are very similar. Oh, by the way, for the viewers, I respect Debbie's work so much because she's really representing almost like an ambassador. You're an ambassadress for a vision board that any dreams can happen.
It's true.
So I do have a vision board, and I think in it, what I have is a lot of happy people's faces because that's what I want, and I mean that through.
Awesome. And so, I like that you've kept it close to the chest, so to speak, that you're not sharing it publicly. As you saw, I had Bob Proctor's son, Brian, and he said, I will talk about my vision board, but I don't want to show it. And, I love that because it's a sacred experience. It's very individual. And it's not for public display. It's for between you and the universe.
Hmm.
And if you're spiritual and God, and I think that I appreciate you sharing it with us, but no, I think keeping it private is completely appropriate and really respects the process.
Thank you, thank you. But what I wanted to say is it works, but you have to follow certain way. So I think we need teachers like you.
Thank you. There is a process for sure. There's not a wrong way to create a vision board. It
Hmm.
will eventually manifest, but who wants to wait 20 years? People will say, I finally got my dream home, but I put it on my board 20 years ago. I'm like, well, that's amazing, but there's a better way, and you can activate the universal laws much more quickly when you know the secret, when you know how. And you hit on it with the happy faces, and because as you said, that's what you want, and that's your desire, and I can imagine that that fires up a beautiful emotion for you, that's positive, that's motivating, that activates the universal laws. So I don't know if this is even on your board, but I sometimes ask my clients to put a Santa gift on their board. And what I mean by that is something that is outside of something that's practical. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily buy it for themselves. So it just helps them stretch out the borders of dreaming bigger. So, do you have a Santa gift on your board, or is there something that that you would put on your board that just Santa Claus would bring?
So I am more like Santa. So I'm the guy who delivers the gifts, not the one asking for it. So
Ah, brilliant answer. I love that. I am Santa. That's awesome. Now you share a story, and as you said, about your parents, and you had a lot of hurt to overcome from your childhood, and you share a story in your book, a very personal story about your father, and about the guilt that he carried from one of his clients. And I'll let the listener read the full story in your book. um, I had my own aha a couple years ago where I'm adopted, and I realized that I've been carrying around a belief about my worthiness, because my parents always told the story when I arrived that I was dirty, I was looked very tired, I was just what I would call a raggedy baby. And then I had this epiphany actually a couple of weeks ago. My parents have also told me, the adoption agency, we only paid $7 for you. And they kind of thought it was a bit of a joke. But I realized both of those stories, I made them mean something. And much of my um, growing into my adulthood has been to prove my worthiness, that I'm worth more than $7, that I am not the raggedy baby that arrived at the door. And those ahas, those epiphanies, those realizations have really shifted my thinking also around money, big in a big way. And I'm wondering, did you have anything that was dramatic like that for you, that you had a realization that shifted your thinking?
Yes, many times, and especially after meeting Wahe on the way back. There's a bullet train from Nagoya to Tokyo. It's about less than an hour, and in that train, I always get wow. It's almost like what there's an expression in Japanese that we our eyelids fell off. That means we can see things very clearly. So it happened to me so many times. One example is that Wahe said, I asked him, what is a secret of becoming wealthy? And he said, it's like having a little pond in your backyard. I didn't get it, as always. What does that mean? And he said, whenever you scoop water and just take a lot of water, the next day the water level um, is um, that comes back up to the same level. Money is the same thing. Even if you spend, a few days later, the money was back to the same level. That means you have to have income source that fills you up. And I understood it as a story, but I didn't know how to implement it to my life. He's been giving training like that. He gave me the idea, and a lot of people didn't get it. And I got it. I ran with it. For example, I thought, okay, for me, owning a pond is like having a best and long seller series of books that would pay me constantly. That was about 13 years ago. And then I came up, like my mentor, and I think your mentor, Jack Canfield, did the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. I sort of did it in a similar way. I came up with a system. So all my books are stored in convenience stores. There are 60,000 convenience stores, such as 7-Elevens and all that. So in there, we negotiated with a publisher and distribution system, but we created a titanium book rack for every convenience store in Japan. So I wrote 17 things to do in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And that was about 12 years ago, and we sold about 2.3 million copies.
Wow.
And it still reprint about 60,000 to 100,000 copies every year. That is my little pond. And also, I created online courses, evergreen, that keep generating lots of income. So, what he's teaching, one little word, own your little pond. just grew into a multimillionaire uh, business.
Beautiful. So powerful that, as you said, it can be so simple. Thinking about this work, it truly is simple in terms of like that example. But the complexity is that it's not easy in terms of implementation because not everyone would take the story and apply it like you did.
Yes. Yeah. So it takes some commitment. So a vision board is a great tool, but it's a start. A lot of people say, "Can I created a vision board to become a best-selling author? Do you think that will happen?" And I say, "No. Even if you put it, that is just a start. You have
Right.
to start writing a book. Just you have to write books, and you have to meet the editor. You have to meet a few other things, and there will be like 250 steps to publish a book. And putting up in a vision board is almost saying, I'm going to write a book. It's like a declaration to the universe.
That's right.
I'm going to do it. That's great, but not like a restaurant in the universe that you order a best-selling book and it just will be served. Uh, car maybe, a house maybe, but if you want to have a best-selling book, you have to go into the kitchen and then you have to start cooking.
That's right. Yeah. No, very true. And I've coined the phrase, we put the action into law of attraction.
Yes, that's what I love about your work.
Because some people think they can just create it and sit on the couch and hold their arms open and think, okay, universe, like bring it on. And there is definitely something about getting focused because where your focus goes, your energy flows. Absolutely. And there's, as you said, I love that how many steps there are to the manifestation. So you talked about all the books that you've sold and the money and the wealth. I mean, I googled you, like, whoa, very impressive. But I'm curious, as a father, and I don't know how old your daughter is now, but you talked about her in the book.
She's 25.
She's 25. Okay, so I've got children around that age as well. And so I'm wondering how you support her and what advice you give to your daughter around her mindset of having a very wealthy parent.
So I taught her um, everything she needs to know, not around money, but about life. I taught her life is about to make friends, how many friends you make, how many friends that she wants to support. So if in her 20, if you can find even one or two friends that you want to support whatever you do for him or her, and then if you can make 20 friends that you feel the same way for them and they feel the same way for you, whatever the field you choose, you can be super successful. So everything is about relationship. If you have good relationships, you'll be great. Even if you have money, if you don't have good relationships, the money will be drained to the toilet. Look at the kids of wealthy parents. If they don't have good mentality, good relationships, they usually end up in a on the street or in a drug rehabilitation center.
Yeah, I appreciate your answer. That's really amazing. And I witnessed your generosity, and I'm sure that that's an example for your daughter. When I met you, you gave me a gold pen, and everybody else that was there got this beautiful pen. And and the book, as I said. So I know that you also are generous, and that is what we know activates also universal laws.
Yes, so I want you to do an experiment with you by sharing what you have. I started sharing my booklet. I know, Debbie, that you're sharing your, beautiful magazine. I did that. I started doing that 22 years ago. I read it somewhere that what you give, you receive. I didn't buy that. So I wanted to do an experiment. So I started giving away my booklet and see what happens. And I got lots of requests for my free booklet. And printed another 3,000, another 3,000, 5,000. I ended up printing 100,000 booklets and gave them away. And the publisher called me, and the rest is a history.
Yeah.
I ended up giving away 2.3 million physical copies, which
Wow.
cost me about 3 million US dollars. So I gave away $3 million for a gift, and look what happened 20 years. What happened is that I sold almost 9 million copies. That translates into roughly about 13 million US dollars. So I gave away three, I got 13 back. That is a result.
Right.
And also, it's not my only business. I have a lot of seminars, online courses, and so whatever you give will come back at least 5 times or 10 times. So if you're afraid to do it, start doing with a quarter, a dollar, or $5 or $10.
It's a great challenge. Thanks for that. So I think that answers my next question. I was going to ask if you've got some practical tips to suggest how people go to rebuild their relationship with money. So um, I would say, like when I work with people with vision boards, the I always say you can't build a mansion, you can't build the big dream on top of a garbage dump. We've got to clear some of these beliefs. And one of the main ones has to do with money. So, how would you suggest people go about it? Like, sounds like one of the ways is to start giving. Is there anything else?
Yes. Yeah, and if you are too afraid and if you don't want to spend a penny, you can start appreciating when money comes in and goes out. I call it arigato in, arigato out. When money comes in, you can say arigato or thank you or gracias. Whatever the language you use, it's fine. And also, when you spend money, you can also say arigato at the cashier or to the waiting person in a restaurant. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the nice service. So, by appreciating money coming and going out, you can start the cycle of appreciation. So, once you start vibrating in appreciation, a lot of things happen. And then you enjoy the rest. I don't want to spoil the fun.
That's true. That's definitely where the magic lies. And it's 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 also like planting a seed. Uh, and when I said about energy, expending energy or giving out and it coming back, what I've always been surprised about is because it's coming back from the divine, it often comes back in a different form, which is often better and bigger than what I imagined. Would you say that's true for you as well?
Yes, I think what you appreciate appreciates. If you appreciate your friendship, you get to your friendship. If you appreciate health, you get health. You appreciate money, money appreciates. So I've written so many stories in my book series, but one of the stories is that my student it was a single mom who couldn't get enough money because of a low paying job. She was complaining about it. And then I asked her, is there anything that you can appreciate your boss or in your situation? And she said, he hired me even though I didn't have a college degree. And then that really shifted her. She started appreciating her boss for hiring her and keeping her, not just firing her, right? And then I got an email saying that, thank you, Ken. I got a big bonus and a big raise after a few weeks because uh, I think my appreciation really went through him. He was not a kind of guy who say thank you, but he did say thank you. Have you sent him any letter from you? Because he definitely changed. I didn't. She changed him.
Yeah, yeah. Her energy for sure. And it that's so powerful. So I'm curious if you have experienced this before as a giant manifester, and that's who I interview and get to have on my podcast here. I'm curious, did you find that you ever experienced opinions or judgments around the success that you had, and how did you find that you were able to neutralize yourself to that?
So when good things happen, I try to find my negative side of it. Like when people compliment me, Ken, you're God, you're amazing, you're so incredible. In my mind, I say, I'm terrible, I'm lousy. You know, I'm I'm not such a good person. Just listen to my wife or my daughter. They say like, you may be good, great outside, but you're a trash inside. So, and then it brings me back. So whenever I don't usually get that, but whenever I get negative comments on YouTube and stuff, I try to neutralize it by saying, "Wow, a lot of people say, uh, they respect me. This thing works." But when somebody said this, whatever Ken Honda said doesn't work. No, this thing works. So I try to come back up. So if I become too positive, I try to put myself down, and if I'm too negative, I try to bring me back.
Interesting. It sounds similar to where we started with the conversation about joy,
Hmm.
and that it
Yeah,
requires both.
yeah. So a lot of positive people only wish for the positive things to happen, but unfortunately, be realistic. In life, there are half bad things, half good things, or like everything is neutral. We just try to manipulate our minds. This is a good thing. It's raining. Oh, it's a good thing. I got into a car accident. This is a good thing. So if you just try to label good or bad, it consumes a lot of energy. But if you just find your center and whatever comes, you welcome them. You don't waste any energy about judging if something is good or bad. So just welcome, embrace what universe offers you. And if you stop judging if this is good or if this is bad, you can enjoy both.
Beautiful gems, just like your mentor. That's awesome. Thank you, Ken.
Yes, it's his worth, not mine.
Ah, well, you've embodied that. So that's wonderful. So I'm curious, what's next for you?
So I'm going to publish my next book. It's called True Wealth in English. It's my second book, and I have so many books now being translated. So I think when you go visit a bookstore, Ken Honda book will be keep pumping up, showing up.
Good.
So I'm a happy writer. So I keep writing. It's almost like part of my life. And also I like to speak more from the stage. So I'll go to Phoenix for Hay House event in March,
Hmm,
and I'll be visiting many cities in Europe and Southeast Asia, and so I'll be traveling around a lot. So I hope one day I'll meet you and everybody um, in person.
I would love that again for sure. So, uh, for your events, I don't know if they're open to the public, but is there a way for people to connect with you to find those events that they can attend?
Yes, you can find all the information at kenhonda.com. I translated a lot of material into English, and you can read it for free. You can test your money personality type. That is also a fun thing to check.
That is fun. I didn't even know that. I have to look that up. And uh, last year, so we met at this retreat that was put on by Jack Canfield and Patty Aubrey. And I met a group of women, and I got to travel from my house in Canada down to one of the other participants who was in the States in Virginia. And it was, I think, a 13-hour drive. And I listened to your
Wow.
book on audio.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I did. So I don't think I quite finished it on one way. I think I finished it going back home, but it was lovely. And whoever the person reading, I don't think it's you. I'm on pod, it's not you, but it sounds a lot like you. And
Yes, sort of. Yes. Yeah, he's so great.
it
Thank you.
was it was wonderful. So for anyone that's taking a road trip, you can get his book on audible. So Uh, Ken, this was so amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. I appreciate you and your work and what you're doing. And just the world is a better place because you're sharing your message. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll let me know whatever I can do to support you. I'm happy to give you endorsements, support you any way I can. I'll just do anything for my friends.
Thank you, Ken. You truly
Thank you.
embody what you teach. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone. I'm just sending you lots of happy and money energy.
Oh, that's awesome.